Hey guys, welcome back to the Hardcore Ironman series. In this episode we're going to be taking revenge upon the Corrupted Gauntlet as it almost claimed our life earlier in the series. Hopefully we can snag ourselves a Bowfa alongside the Crystal Armor in relatively quick fashion, as I'll only be pushing for 400 KC and calling it quits for a while to avoid burning myself out. Let's get into it. We have an item with the chest from when we last came. 101 COD. Yes, we don't need that, let's just throw that on the floor. A reminder of what happened before, but this time, it's not going to happen again. So, time to go into detail on how I tackle the Corrupted Gauntlet. On my first trip, I like to take the route as follows. From the starting room, I'll make a small rectangle run around as it should have more than enough supplies for us to get. We'll be looking for one weapon frame, at least 3 resources that will drop by the Singing Bolt, and 110 crystal shards. We do not limit ourselves to this amount, but it is the bare minimum that we're looking for. This will allow us to craft a tier 2 weapon. I prefer the magic staff and 2 vials of water, so then we can craft the potions during our next outing. To collect our weapon frame, we need to kill mobs that are found in the rooms. A drop is guaranteed from killing either 3 small minions or 1 medium. The second reason we'll be using this route is that you may scout each of the rooms on the far wall, as that is where a demi-boss can spawn. In this image you can see the demi-boss spawn locations are highlighted. Now that we hopefully have our first trip out of the way, we should have already scouted the first 3 demi-boss rooms. We can now either go back to them if they had the demis that we're looking for, or completely skip over them as they didn't spawn there, electing to go to a different set of potential spawns. Along the way we'll be looking for 1 weapon frame, which we are likely to get from our demi-boss, 2 favoured tier 3 weapon upgrades. We'll find these by taking on the appropriate demi-bosses. It is imperative that you use protection prayers against these demi-bosses as they can hit you for upwards of 48 damage. Starting off with the dragon, this will use a magic attack. It will drop the corrupted orb to allow us to make a T3 magic staff. Dark Beast being ranged drops the bowstring for, you guessed it, a T3 bow. And finally the bear will drop us a spike for a T3 halberd. If you are in need of extra crystal shards, it is okay to crush this for an extra 80 crystal shards. Important note, once you have a T3 weapon upgrade, you will not receive that item again, and you'll roll only on the leftover weapons you require. For instance, if you were to kill 2 dragons, you will get a corrupted orb and a 50-50 on your next item. In this case, let's say you got a spike, which is not ideal. If we then went on to find a bear and killed it, we would then be granted a bowstring. This means we will have a bowstring without ever even encountering a dark beast. Obviously on the hardcore, melee is not ideal as it could get us into some tough positions. You'll either A, take damage while trying to DPS the boss during tornadoes, or B, you'll be slowing down the boss by not attacking it at all. So having 2 range options is preferred. We'll also need 2 Guam leaves. As we get these, we can put those into our vials of water to save inventory space, and we'll also be milling our crystal shards into dust to make potions. Before the stamina update, it was imperative to get one of these as soon as possible, as you'd be running out of run during the second trip. Fortunately though, that is no longer a big deal. We'll also be working on getting the rest of our resources, 7 of each, alongside a total of 550 crystal shards from both trips. To obtain a plentiful amount of crystal shards, I would suggest making sure to kill a few medium tier bosses as you go through, as it shouldn't take too much time. There is a lot of variance in how much you can get from farming resources alone, so you'll likely have to go out of your way to do this. The easiest way I found of making sure I know what I have is using the Gauntlet plugin. I have it set up as shown on screen, and you'll be able to see what there is left to obtain. You can also highlight the resources on screen via the overlay, so they are easier to see at a glance when opening up a room, and can help you avoid wasting ticks, while also helping you to remember where you left some fish to come back for later. But I prefer not having every resource showing. I have mine set up as shown here. If all goes well, this will allow us to make our T2 armor and T3 weapons, with enough shards left over to craft a teleport seed so we can get back to the middle after our final trip. On this final trip, hopefully you've found more than enough fish for us to gather. If not, there is always a spawn around the boss that has at least 3 fishing pools, which have 4 fish each, which will go far in helping us get to our minimum of 16 fish. If we barely didn't get enough shards to craft our T2 armor, now is also the time to pray that we get some extra shards from fishing. Once our inventory is filled up enough, we'll TP back, cook our food, and prepare for the boss fight, the Crystalline Hunleff. Get ready for a slog of a fight, as this bad boy will usually take you around 4 minutes to kill, and will progressively get harder throughout the fight as you hit 66% and 33% HP. Hunleff will start off with one of 3 prayers itself, starting with either Protect from Magic, Missiles, or Melee. These will change in accordance to what you hit it with, and every 6 off-prayer attack hit, it will switch to what you are currently using. The Hunleff's main attack will start off with ranged every time, and every 4 attacks it will switch on over to mage, and then back to range going on for the rest of the fight. As you can see from this table, you can see the Hunleff max it when prayed against correctly. Taking this damage without the correct pray will result in taking a max hit of up to 68 damage. You will also be subject to a typeless attack, the boss's slam, if you were ever underneath it on the tick that it was going to attack you with its ranged abilities. This will also delay when the boss will switch its main attack by 1 attack, so be careful. The prayer disabling attack. Throughout the boss fight, the boss will disable your prayers, forcing you to re-enable them. On its own, it's not a big deal, but once you have to deal with the counting of attacks and dealing with the later mechanics, it becomes overwhelming, and it could cause you to take unnecessary damage. The floor is lava. The first environmental mechanic you have to deal with is staying off of the orange tiles that will spawn as the fight goes on. In order to have as much floor space as possible, we'll be making sure that the boss is 2x1 or 1x1 away from the corner tile, which can be achieved by waiting outside of the boss room to see if it goes to where you want it to, or you can step under the boss to maneuver it during, being careful not to be under it during its attack tick, as that will cause a slam. This movement will send the boss up, down, left or right at random, so it can be annoying to get right. The tiles I have marked in the boss room are the only tiles during the last 33% of the boss that will never have any orange tiles, as the tile pattern will change at 66 and 33%. Being on the orange tiles will inflict the player with 10 to 20 damage every game tick until they step off of the tiles. Tornadoes. By far the most dangerous thing in the boss fight is going to be the tornadoes. These little buggers will follow you around the room. First is a set of 2, and at 66% a set of 3, and at 33% there'll be a set of 4. If these tornadoes manage to catch up to you, you will take the amount of damage you can see on screen right now from each tornado. As you can tell then in T2 armor, you want to stay above 80 HP at all times. This is so that you don't get stacked out in one tick. This should rarely happen, but if you were to disconnect, your escape crystal would not have the time to go off if you're not near full HP. Now that we've gone through all of the mechanics, I'm going to show you the unedited clip of hopefully our Hunleff revenge. We managed to get our Gauntlet Cape. We did a PB of 10-13, first KC, perfect Corrupted Gauntlet, 3-2-1 Mage, and let's see what we've been rewarded with for our first successful kill. I'll take it. Crafted XP, runes. Needed that to settle the nerves. I've been putting off this grind for a while. I think a tier 2 prep is the best for me. I'm not going to bother with T3. It stresses me out more than I care to admit. I'm not very good at T3 prep. I get lost in the sauce a little bit. I practiced a little bit on my other account, but I've settled on T2. And that is how we're going to be doing the grind. Another thing I have just noticed from looking at that, we have unlocked the hard tier of combat achievement rewards. So I think before we press on too much, let's go get ourselves our hard rewards. I was going to say hello Gommel, but it's not Gommel. Gommel is been turned to ash, dust to dust. I'm here to talk about combat achievements. I think I've completed a combat tier. There is our Gommel's Hilt 3, as well as an antique lamp, which we'll be putting on. I think just put on Herbler, we're fine with this there. 15,000 XP. Quickly going over the other rewards we managed to get for obtaining the hard combat achievements. Here goes nothing. Increase the hard clue drop chance by 5%. Boss Slayer tasks now grant up to 15 more quantity assigned. Ecumenical key drop chance increased by 8%. 5 less kill count required to access the God Wars dungeon bosses, as well as having access to God Wars dungeon private instances for 150k. Huey Kotal private instance fee is reduced to 25k. An additional point from pest control totaling 3 points, including the previous tiers. Cost of viewing items at Soul Wars and Nightmare Zone has been reduced by 50%. The cannon can hold an extra 15 cannonballs. Our Gommel's Hilt has unlimited teleports to Trollheim, useful for clues and the God Wars dungeon grind. And finally, if we were able to obtain them, we can combine the KBD heads with the Dragon Hunter crossbow for a decent recolor. Whilst we are grinding out our CG, I am going to be going out of the way to be grinding out level 92 agility, as this will allow us to do floor 5 of the Hallowed Sepulchre. I've actually never done Hallowed Sepulchre before, but this time while maxing I would like to give it a go, as it does have some good XP rates and excellent rewards. When we finally make it there, we'll be going into it. I was moving my mouse. I'm livid. Alright, I need to make sure that when I'm doing this I disable the auto teleport from the crystal, man. Second KC took a little bit longer, but decent loot. I'm probably only going to show you clips whereby something interesting happens in the run, or we hit some sort of milestone, or get a drop, because there's not really much difference with CG. We're just going to be going through the motions. I am hoping I can get it all done in one episode. We are going to be going for 400 KC, and if that comes to pass, then we're going to take a break from CG for a while, go do something else. But for now, let's make sure that we get on the leaderboard before we die and get the 5 KC required. We got our next combat achievement, Gauntlet Veteran. That's 5 total KC of both the normal and the Corrupted Gauntlet. We do love to see Dragon Halberds. That is going to be a massive high alch. 150k, delicious. You know what, I don't need to get this rune pouch out, I'm going to put that back. But it's nice when the Hunleff time is below 4 minutes, because I take about 20 food and make 3 pots in there. So that really means there's not much struggle at the end. It's not tight. There's the Corrupted Gauntlet Veteran. We have 5 KC, so we should now be on the leaderboards. I'm just going to quickly log out so we can see where we are on the leaderboards, now that we're going to be immortalized on the hardcore Ironman Corrupted Gauntlet list. Well, that's what I get for having my escape on left click. I have just, unfortunately, on almost a kill, left. Woe is me and all that. Woe is me. It's okay. I can tank the psychic damage. I forgot to drop my elite clue. Oh well. look at the alchemals. We're gonna be rich, boys. Dragon Halberd, 2 rune plate legs, and 3 rune chain bodies. We're gonna be rich. Just here's our first agility level during the grind. We can now use the IOF dungeon Southern shortcut on the Crandor wall climb. 1 level away from being able to summon Pie Boost to get our highest elite dire requirement. Let's snag him. Drop our elite clue really quickly so we can open it up. 180 ruby vault tips. Could be worse. And then we have 85 agility. We can now use the Elven Overpass. And we can use the Waterbirth Island Cliffside Scale, which I think is one of the DK's ones. Is that? Hold on a minute. Waterbirth Island. What is the other one? 80. So we have both. Okay, so 85 is a requirement to go up here and take the shortcut through skipping the run for DKs. So that makes it much more likely for me to go and do some DKs in the future. Not too shabby. Throughout the grind, I will be keeping my eye out for crystal implings, as they do have some rather good items on their drop table. The main thing, however, it has a 1 in 120 chance of dropping as an Elven Signet, which will allow us a 10% chance of not using a charge on our crystal items whilst using them. Not a massive boon for us right now, but when we eventually get some crystal tools, it'll be a handy item to have. Made a little bit of a mistake at the end there, got hit, but there's 10 KC. Managed to get a master combat task from that, and our first set of emeralds. Of course I didn't drop my elite clue again, but hey ho. This has probably been a day since I've done my last. Actually, yeah, I had an entire day break off, so it's time, I think, to at least get to 25 KC today. If not, I'll probably try and push for like 40 to 50. I'm just terrified of a DC death. If I die to Hunleff, it's fine. If I die to DC, I'm going to shed real tears. Well, we're back once again with a cheeky agility clip because I am procrastinating once again. There is 86 agility once we go through here. Don't know if that unlocks anything. Doesn't seem to. But one step closer to our goal of 92. Along the way, we'll definitely make some mistakes. You know what? I just got my 15th KC done. There is something I want to just double check really quick. Because I know the wiki says the escape crystal works, but I just want to check it out for me, you know what I'm saying? I've got the hardcore anxieties peeking up, so I'm just going to quickly... Bro, just hit me. Make me TP, where do I go? Okay, it does work. Seems a little bit slow, but it does work. It takes you right outside. Okay. Minus 75k, but a little bit of peace of mind. Even though the wiki says, without a doubt, it works. And then we have 87 agility. We can now use the Brimhaven Dungeon Vine Climb. I'm sure we won't be using that very much. But we're only 5 levels away from our agility goal. So we're whittling it down. We're still probably got to do another... Let me just calculate it quickly. Still got to do another 1,904 laps. So we're still going to be here a while. Then we have a master task. Gauntlet Master, another 5 combat achievement points. What I will say is I was planning on stacking these all up, but it's going to be a lot of alchemy work, and I'm kind of like running low on, is it here? Money in the coffer, so I will not be able to do it, because I am taking this rather slowly, as you can see from my agility XP gains. So what I might do is at 20 KC go and sort out my kingdom and high out all of these and see how much money we've got. Obviously you can see this is our total crystal shard. I took the extra 500 we had out of the bank a while back. We're going to have more than enough to make the Bowfa when it happens, when it drops. But for now, I'm going to do 2 more KC. If I don't get anything good, then you probably won't see it. And then I'm going to sort out the rest of my account to make sure it's still giving me resources. Well, we have just gotten our 20th KC, and we now have, after high alking all of the loot, from the first 20 KC, we have gained 2.65 million GP. So let's see what we get from Grim. I'm just going to quickly take a screenshot of our previous Herblore banked, so we can see how much we got from this. I'd like to collect my resources, please. That is a lot of herbs. I think I haven't been collecting them for a little bit. I've just been topping it up. That is pretty pog. We'll deposit just another 1 million in there to keep it going for a long time. And then we'll go see how much difference we have. And obviously along the way we're going to pick up battle states because it's free real estate at this point. If we're going to be printing money, then we might as well double up. As you can see, we managed to get ourselves another 192k Herblore banked from that. I am going to get my entire cash stack out so we can see accurately how much we've got throughout the entire thing in our back pocket, because we'll always have the loot tracker to tell us exactly what we got. And I think I am going to go through the effort of liquidating some items soon. I love getting a start like this. We managed to get all of our resources we need for tier 2 in just 2 rooms. That's wild. On lap 1969, there is 88 agility. We can now use the Corrupted Dungeon Pipe shortcut. I think that's the one that gets you to Hydra, right? Yeah, so if we ever want to go do Alchemical Hydra, we'll have a... It's not necessarily quicker, but it's a safer way of getting over there. This actually turns out to be part of the agility update that I just forgotten about. The shortcut has been made a whole lot faster, down from 16.2 seconds to only 3 seconds. Lovely stuff. Oh fuck, I'm out of here. Having visible tiles on the beams allows me to hop over them easily, like this, to avoid sticky situations. Managed to get myself out of a corner there. And yet another yellow click through the boss. This time I did manage to keep my composure and actually finish off the kill. And then we have Corrupted Gauntlet Grandmaster, so we now have 50 KC. Let's see if we get our first seed on the account. No. So we're currently 1/8 of the way through the grind. We have no armor seeds and no enhance to show for it, but we do have a lot of crystal shards. Most of those are from our agility grind. We are very close to being 89. I've been doing quite a bit of it. Well, let's hope that RNG turns around for us. It doesn't matter that we're going a bit dry on armor seeds because we're going to need to get the enhanced, which is a 1 in 400 anyway. So I'm going to take a small break from CG. You'll see me get an agility level, and then we'll get cracking on it once again soon. And as we go through this portal and claim our crystal shard, there is 89 agility. We can now use the hard Revenant Cave shortcut. I'm not sure that's going to be useful for me. I don't plan on going to the Revenants on this account, at least not for a long time. What I will say is that I have contemplated it. Due to the copious amounts of crystal shards that we have been getting, we will be moving over to the RD course when we hit 90. Now, due to the stamina potion changes, we're not going to need that many Marks of Grace, but we're going to want to get a decent amount of Amylase crystals to make some stamina potions, and hopefully that will last us a long time. So if we do it 90 to 92, I'm not sure how many Marks of Grace that'll be, but since we don't need to use 2 staminas every time we go to chambers now, we can hopefully have a stamina stack that lasts us for a long time. And there we have our first armor seed at 52 KC. That's breathed new life into me. I was getting quite depressed, but that's 1 of 6. Okay, let's not lose momentum. Let's get right back in there, I think. Well, that's 60 KC. That's going to leave it off for now. We're probably going to get to 90 agility next. So let's go and achieve that. Well, once we cross this tightrope, there should be 90 agility. We can now use the Ardoin course, and that is 2000 total level, which is rather nice. Let me just get to the bank quickly because there is a bit of a change of plans for me. Okay, so what I have realized is RD Elite, I don't think it shows on this, but we are only 91 smithing and 91 cooking away from being able to do the RD Elite diary, which would be very good for the next agility grind, as we'll get 25% more Marks of Grace from each lap we do. Oh well, just cumulatively over the laps that we do. So what I am going to do is use the supplies that we have. May have to go get some more coal. We do have quite a bit, but maybe we don't have enough to be able to get to 91 smithing. But I'm going to try so we can get the RD Elite diary out of the way before we go to the RD course. So let's see what we can do. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for in this episode. Sorry for the slower uploads and the shorter video, but we've had to deal with some rather untimely events in my life recently. But we should be back on track to work through the series properly. In the next episode, we'll be taking on some more CG passively while working on our RD diary, and I may have gotten a little bit Temporos crazy. Massive shout out to Walter for being our ladle, and a big thank you to the Big and Little Spoons for supporting our channel. If you wish to be a part of this list, please join the channel down below for the appropriate tier, or subscribe on Twitch to become a Big Spoon. I love you all, and hope to see you in the next one.